Do you recognize me, human? I saved the alien queen's daughter's life years ago. Ethan Brooks sat alone in his small apartment, staring at the pale light of the setting sun through the dusty window. The streets below were quiet, and the usual hum of the city felt distant tonight. He had left the military space program years ago, tired of orders and endless missions. Now, he worked at a small repair shop, fixing old machines and doing simple tasks that kept him busy. Life was peaceful, predictable, and safe. He had not expected anything unusual to happen, at least not until the soft chime of his apartment door startled him. A small drone hovered in, its metallic wings buzzing gently. Ethan frowned, unsure what it could be. He had never owned a personal drone, and his neighbors certainly didn't send him gifts. The drone projected a holographic image in the center of the room. It was a woman, glowing faintly in shades of violet and silver. Her face was strange, unlike any human's, yet it was strangely familiar. She spoke in clear English, though her voice carried a musical tone that made Ethan lean forward in disbelief. "Do you remember me, human?" the woman asked, her eyes locked on his. Ethan blinked. I don't think so," he said cautiously. "Who are you?" The woman tilted her head slightly and her expression softened. "My name is Lyra. Years ago you saved my life. I am the daughter of Queen Ziara of Thaloria. I have never forgotten what you did for me." Ethan froze. He remembered that mission, though he had thought the child would not survive. He had risked his life to rescue a small alien child stranded on a dying planet. The memory of her tiny, glowing hand in his was clear. Her cries, her fear, and her trust in him had haunted him for years. "I saved you," he whispered, his voice trembling slightly. "That was so long ago." Lyra nodded. "Yes, you saved me when no one else could. I was lost and you found me. You gave me a chance to live." Ethan felt a strange mix of pride and fear. How did she find him now after all these years? Why was she reaching out like this? And most importantly, could he trust her? He had learned long ago that aliens, no matter how beautiful or intelligent, could be unpredictable. "I need proof," he said finally. "I need to know this is real." Lyra's face did not change, but her hand moved slightly, revealing a small mark on her wrist. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. He had seen that mark when he treated her injuries on that distant planet. Only he would know exactly where it was, the tiny scar left by the jagged rocks she had fallen on. Ethan took a deep breath and nodded slowly. "I remember," he said. "It's you. I can't believe it. I thought you didn't survive." "I did," Lyra said, her violet eyes shining. "And I never forgot the human who saved me. I came to invite you to Thaloria. My mother wishes to meet the human who saved her daughter." Ethan ran his fingers through his hair. The thought of returning to space, to alien worlds, filled him with both excitement and fear. He had left that life behind. He had chosen safety, simplicity, and peace. Yet here was someone from the stars, reminding him of the past he could not forget. I don't know," he said slowly. "I left that life behind. I'm not a soldier anymore, I'm just me." Lyra's gaze softened. "You were never just you when you saved me. That moment changed everything. You were brave, selfless, and clever. Your actions showed the best of humanity. My mother wants to see that part of you." Ethan's mind raced. Thaloria was far away, beyond the reach of any ordinary shuttle. Traveling there meant stepping into a world he barely understood. A world filled with alien politics, unknown dangers, and immense beauty. Yet the memory of saving Lyra tugged at something deep inside him, a part of him that had always wanted to do more, to matter in the universe. I'll think about it," he said, though a part of him already knew the answer. "Think quickly," Lyra said gently. "Time is precious. There are forces that do not wish to see our worlds connected. My mother fears they may act against me." The mention of danger sent a shiver down Ethan's spine. He had faced danger before, but the thought of alien threats, so far from Earth, made his heart race. He had to decide, stay safe in the world he knew, or step into the unknown for someone who had once trusted him completely. That night, Ethan could not sleep. He sat by the window, staring at the stars, each one a distant world full of life, mystery, and challenges. Memories of that mission flooded back. The fear, the adrenaline, the small, trembling hand that had clung to his. He remembered the look in Lyra's eyes when he lifted her to safety, the relief and trust that had made him feel alive in a way no quiet life ever could. By morning, he had made his decision. He packed lightly, grabbing only the essentials, a small toolkit, his old flight jacket, and a photograph of his family. He left a note for his neighbors, though he doubted anyone would understand. He had a journey to take, one that could change not just his life, but the lives of many others. The shuttle ride to Thaloria was unlike anything Ethan had ever experienced. The human-made vessel moved smoothly through the void, yet as it approached the alien planet, he felt a mixture of awe and apprehension. Thaloria was beautiful, its surface a swirl of glowing forests, crystalline cities, and vast oceans that shimmered under the light of 3 suns. The atmosphere was breathable, but alien scents tingled his senses, sweet and sharp, unlike anything on Earth. As he stepped off the shuttle, Ethan felt the weight of thousands of eyes on him. He was greeted not by soldiers but by beings of all shapes and sizes, their skin in shades of violet, blue, and silver. They moved with grace and precision, their eyes studying him curiously. He realized that every one of them knew he was here because of Lyra. They had awaited this moment. Lyra came forward, her small hand extended. "Ethan Brooks," she said softly, "I am glad you came. You have no idea what this means to me." Ethan shook her hand, feeling a strange warmth and familiarity. "I didn't know if I could," he admitted, "but I had to." She smiled, and it was like sunlight breaking through clouds. "You always had to. That is what makes humans remarkable. You act even when fear is in your heart, and you do not wait for reward or recognition." Ethan felt a lump in his throat. He had never thought of himself as remarkable. He was just a man who had done what he could in a moment of need. But Lyra's words, simple and honest, made him see that sometimes courage alone could change destinies. They walked together through the streets of the alien city. Ethan marveled at the technology and architecture, at buildings that seemed alive, streets that glowed with energy, and creatures moving freely, coexisting in harmony. Lyra explained small details, how her people lived, how they valued life, and how humans were seen by her kind, mysterious, bold, and capable of unexpected heroism. "I never thought humans could do what you did," she said. "Most of my people see humans as reckless, dangerous. But you showed them something different, something rare." Ethan laughed softly. "I was just lucky and maybe a little stubborn. That's all. Humans are stubborn." Lyra shook her head. "It is more than stubbornness. It is a choice, and that choice saved my life. It made me believe in humans when I could have given up. It changed everything." As they reached the palace, Ethan felt the gravity of the moment. Queen Zyara awaited him, and he knew the meeting would decide not only his fate, but the future of human-Thalorian relations. He had come for Lyra, but the consequences were far larger than he had imagined. The doors opened, and a wave of calm authority washed over him. The queen stepped forward, her presence radiant and commanding. She studied Ethan carefully, her eyes piercing yet thoughtful. "You are Ethan Brooks," she said in a voice that resonated through the hall, "the human who saved my daughter's life." Ethan bowed slightly, unsure how to respond. "Yes, Your Majesty, I did what I could." Zyara's gaze softened. "You did more than you know. You risked your life for a child you barely knew. That courage is rare among humans, but it is the courage that matters most. My daughter remembers. I remember. And now I wish to see for myself the human who gave her life." Ethan straightened, feeling a mixture of pride and fear. He had stepped into a world he barely understood, yet his actions years ago had opened a door that no one else could have. He realized in that moment that humans were capable of more than he had ever imagined. Lyra took his hand again, and the Queen nodded approvingly. Ethan felt a warmth he had never known, a sense that he belonged, at least for this moment, among beings far greater and wiser than any human he had ever met. The first part of his new life had begun. A life full of unknown dangers, breathtaking discoveries, and the chance to show the universe what humanity was truly capable of. And as he followed Lyra deeper into the palace, he knew one thing clearly. Saving a life once had changed his destiny forever. Ethan walked beside Lyra as they moved through the wide halls of the palace. The walls glowed softly, pulsing with a light that seemed alive. The floors were smooth and cool under his boots, and strange patterns shifted like water beneath his eyes. He tried to take it all in, but it was almost too much. Everything about Thaloria was different, yet beautiful in a way that made him feel both small and important at the same time. Lyra noticed his wonder and smiled. "It is beautiful, isn't it?" she said. "Every part of the palace is alive in its own way. Our people built it to respect life, even in walls and stone." Ethan nodded slowly. "It is amazing. I have never seen anything like it on Earth. Nothing comes close." They passed beings of many shapes and colors. Some had long, delicate limbs. Others had shining skin that reflected light like crystal. All of them watched Ethan with curious eyes, but none made him feel unsafe. Lyra seemed to know every one of them, greeting them with a nod or a gentle smile. She led him through corridors and across bridges that glimmered with energy. Finally, they arrived at a large open chamber filled with light. The room opened to a balcony overlooking the city. Ethan stepped forward and gasped. The city below was like nothing he had imagined. Buildings twisted into the sky like glowing vines. Rivers of light flowed between structures. Alien ships moved silently above the streets, leaving trails of shimmering color in the air. It was alive, vibrant, and full of energy. Lyra leaned beside him. "This is the heart of our city. From here, you can see what we have built in harmony with our world. Most humans see only danger in the stars. Few realize what can be achieved if we work together." Ethan looked at her. "I never thought about it like that. I saw space as dangerous, harsh, empty, but this," he gestured toward the city, "this is life. You have created life here, not just machines or buildings." Lyra smiled softly. "Yes, life. That is what we value above all else. And now humans like you are part of that life, whether your people know it yet or not." Ethan felt a shiver. He had never been treated like this by aliens before. Usually they were distant, cautious, or openly hostile. But Lyra and her people, they seemed to recognize something in him, something human, yet more than human: courage, hope, and compassion. "Come," Lyra said, taking his hand gently. "I want to show you more." They walked deeper into the palace. Ethan noticed that the technology here was unlike anything he had seen. Doors opened without touch. Screens floated in the air, showing moving images of distant planets. Strange symbols glowed softly, giving the halls a feeling of life and energy. Yet it all felt natural, not cold or mechanical. Lyra led him to a room filled with books, though they were unlike human books. The pages glowed faintly and images moved inside them. Ethan reached out and touched one. A story appeared, showing the history of Thaloria. He saw wars, discoveries, and moments of courage. He saw Lyra as a child, exploring the forests near the palace. And then he saw himself, tiny, exhausted, carrying her across a rocky plain as meteors fell around them. He gasped. I didn't know you remembered that so clearly." Lyra nodded. "I remember everything. That day showed me that humans are capable of courage I had never imagined. Most of my people doubt your kind, but I never doubted you. You saved me, and that means more than anything." Ethan felt a mix of pride and discomfort. He had acted out of instinct, not heroism. Yet Lyra's words made him see that sometimes small actions could ripple far beyond what he imagined. As they continued, Lyra explained more about her people. They were peaceful for the most part, but internal divisions existed. Some nobles distrusted humans, believing them too reckless to be trusted. Others admired their bravery but feared their unpredictability. Ethan realized that he was walking into a delicate balance of power, and that his presence here might not be welcomed by everyone. They reached another chamber, this one larger, filled with soft golden light. In the center was a pool of water, glowing faintly. Around it stood several Thalorian scholars, examining floating devices that emitted soft hums. Lyra introduced Ethan carefully. "These are our scholars," she said. "They study energy, life, and the stars. They have questions for you, Ethan. They wish to understand your world, your people, and your courage." Ethan swallowed. He had not expected this. He was used to action, not lectures or diplomacy. But he nodded politely. "I will answer what I can," he said. The scholars asked about Earth, human technology, and human ways of thinking. Ethan explained simply, avoiding military secrets but showing the creativity, courage, and resourcefulness of humans. He described how humans survived on dangerous planets, how they adapted to new environments, and how they faced threats with courage rather than waiting for safety. One scholar asked about his mission to save Lyra. Ethan hesitated but then recounted the story carefully, focusing on the choices he had made and the risks he had taken. He spoke of fear, determination, and the small hand that had trusted him completely. The scholars listened intently, nodding. Afterward, Lyra smiled. "Do you see? Your actions mean more than you think. Humans are not just strong or clever. They are brave, loyal, and willing to act when it matters most. That is why you are here." Ethan felt warmth in his chest. For the first time in years, he felt that what he had done truly mattered. He had saved a life, and now that life was changing a world. Later, Lyra led him to the palace gardens. They were unlike any gardens on Earth. Trees glowed softly, flowers floated in the air, and water moved in streams that sparkled with energy. Strange birds with translucent wings flew around, singing notes that resonated in harmony with the air. Ethan walked slowly, taking it all in. "I never imagined the universe could be like this," he said softly. Lyra glanced at him. "Most humans cannot. They see stars as cold and distant, but life exists everywhere. Courage exists everywhere. And humans like you bring something special, the ability to act when it matters, even when the odds are against them." Ethan looked at her, feeling a mixture of awe and connection. He realized that this young alien whom he had once saved now trusted him completely. She had seen humanity at its best through his actions, and she believed in him. As the evening approached, Lyra invited Ethan to a small meal in her private quarters. They sat across from each other at a table made of smooth crystal. Alien food was placed before him, glowing faintly and smelling sweet. He hesitated, but Lyra encouraged him to try. Ethan took a bite. The taste was strange, yet pleasant, and he felt energy filling him in a way that human food never had. They ate quietly for a while, talking softly. Lyra asked about his life on Earth, his family, and his dreams. Ethan told her about his childhood, his love for space, and his decision to leave military life. "I see now why you left," Lyra said. "But I also see why you could never stay away. Humans like you are not meant to hide. You are meant to face the stars, face challenges, and act when others cannot." Ethan felt a lump in his throat. Her words were simple, but they carried truth. He realized that the quiet life he had chosen could not satisfy him forever. The universe was calling, and he could not ignore it. After the meal, they walked back to the balcony. Night had fallen, and the city shimmered with lights, reflecting in the rivers of energy below. Ethan leaned on the railing, feeling the cool air on his face. "Lyra," he said softly, "I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if I can help your people beyond what I already did." She turned to him, her eyes shining. "You already have helped. You saved me. That act of courage changed my life. And now you can help shape the future of my world. My people will see humans differently because of you, but it is your choice. You do not have to act if you do not wish." Ethan looked at her and felt a deep respect and connection. He knew that whatever happened next, he could not turn away. He had been called back into a life he thought he left behind, but this time it was different. This time, he was not just a soldier or an explorer. He was a human, standing among aliens, showing what his people were truly capable of. As he gazed at the glowing city below, he felt a sense of purpose he had not felt in years. He realized that humans, with their courage, creativity, and determination, could change the course of worlds, not just survive but lead. And he would be ready when the time came. Little did Ethan know, danger was already moving in the shadows. Not all of Thaloria's people welcomed the idea of trusting a human. Some saw him as a threat, someone who could disrupt the balance of power. And soon, he would face challenges that tested every skill he had, every bit of courage and ingenuity he could muster. But for now, he stood beside Lyra, looking at the stars above. For the first time in a long time, he felt alive. He had come back into a world he thought he had left behind, and he was ready to face whatever came next. The morning on Thaloria began with soft light washing across the palace. Ethan woke to the quiet hum of the city outside his window. For the first time in years, he felt like he was part of something bigger than himself. But deep down, he knew that peace was fragile. Lyra had warned him that not all Thalorians trusted humans, and he could feel the weight of their eyes even in the halls of the palace. Lyra met him outside his room, her expression calm but serious. "Ethan, there is something you should know," she said. "Not all of my people are happy that you are here. Some believe humans cannot be trusted." Ethan frowned. "I expected that, but why now?" "Why tell me this today?" "Because there are rumors," Lyra said softly. "A group of nobles may try to act against me. They see your presence as a threat. I need you to be ready." Ethan ran a hand through his hair. Danger had a way of finding him, even years after he left space missions behind. "I can handle it," he said, "but you need to tell me what to expect." Lyra led him to a chamber where the palace's defense monitors were active. Screens showed various parts of the city and the palace grounds. Ethan watched as patterns of movement and energy pulses revealed the presence of Thalorian guards and officials. "These are the areas where they might strike," Lyra explained. "They have access to ancient weapons, devices capable of serious harm, but their plans are not fully formed yet. They wait for the right moment." Ethan studied the screens carefully. "They underestimate humans," he said quietly. "We adapt, we improvise. We act when others hesitate." Lyra smiled slightly. "I hoped you would say that. It is why I trust you." The day passed slowly, with Ethan learning more about Thalorian culture and technology. He saw devices that could manipulate energy, fields that allowed flight, and sensors that could detect movement from miles away. Yet, the thing that impressed him most was the discipline and caution of the Thalorians. They were patient, intelligent, and careful, but often hesitant to act without certainty. Humans, he realized, could move faster, think differently, and take risks that Thalorians avoided. By afternoon, Ethan and Lyra were walking through the gardens. He had begun to feel a quiet connection with her. Not love, yet, but trust, respect, and a sense that they shared a bond few others could understand. Suddenly, the hum of the city changed. Ethan froze, listening. A soft vibration ran through the air, almost imperceptible, but his instincts told him it was important. Lyra noticed his pause. "What is it?" she asked. "They are coming," he said. "I don't know exactly who, but danger is near." Lyra's violet eyes widened. "We must move." They ran through the palace corridors, moving faster than any human could have imagined. Yet the Thalorians moved with equal speed and grace beside them. Ethan guided them through hidden passages he had learned from observing the palace maps. The air was tense, filled with the knowledge that unseen eyes were watching, planning. They reached a secure chamber where several Thalorian guards waited. Ethan's presence surprised them at first, but Lyra quickly explained the situation. The head guard nodded and activated the chamber's protective shields. Ethan studied the room carefully. "They will try to force their way in," he said. "If we can hold this room long enough, we can figure out who is behind it." Lyra looked at him, trust shining in her eyes. "I believe in you, Ethan. You saved my life once. I know you can protect me now." The first strike came suddenly. A group of Thalorian nobles, armed with energy blades and devices that emitted pulses of force, attacked the chamber doors. Ethan's heart raced, but he felt no fear. He focused on the situation, remembering every mission, every risk he had faced in the past. He studied the shields, the doors, and the attackers' movements. Then, using a combination of quick thinking and human improvisation, he directed the guards to channel energy into the walls, creating a temporary barrier that slowed the attackers. Lyra watched, impressed. "You think differently," she whispered. "Thalorians would not have done that." "They underestimate what humans can do," Ethan replied. "We adapt. We find solutions when others freeze." The attackers regrouped, trying different approaches, but Ethan anticipated their moves. He instructed the guards to create diversions, then used the chamber's controls to seal sections and redirect energy flows. Slowly, the intruders were forced to retreat. When the doors finally sealed, Ethan sank to the floor, breathing heavily. Lyra knelt beside him. "You saved us," she said. "Again, your courage, it is beyond what I imagined." Ethan shook his head. "I did what I had to do. I don't want praise, but I see now humans have something special. We act when others hesitate. That can make all the difference." Lyra smiled, placing a hand on his arm. "It is more than that. You have inspired not just me, but others who witnessed your actions. Your bravery is a lesson they cannot ignore." For the next few hours, the palace remained tense. Ethan helped strengthen defenses, showing the Thalorians how to improvise and think quickly in moments of crisis. He combined human logic with Thalorian technology, creating solutions that were unusual but effective. By evening, the immediate threat had passed, but Ethan knew it was only the beginning. The nobles who had attacked were powerful, influential, and cunning. They would not give up easily. Lyra led him to the balcony again, where the city glowed under 3 moons. The streets were calm, but Ethan could sense the undercurrents of tension. "They will strike again," he said quietly. "And next time it may not be just a test, it could be serious." Lyra nodded. "I know, but I also know that with you here I am not alone. You see what others cannot. You act when others hesitate. That is why I trust you." Ethan looked at the city below, then at the glowing moons above. He realized that he was not just a visitor here. He had a role, a responsibility. He had the chance to show not just bravery, but the strength of human thinking, courage, and determination. That night, he could not sleep. He paced the chamber, thinking about the attackers, their motives, and how he could prepare for the future. He realized that the Thalorians were strong, but their strength came from caution and patience. Humans, in contrast, could act decisively, take risks, and adapt to unpredictable situations. That combination, he thought, could change the balance of power on Thaloria. Lyra watched him quietly, understanding the weight he carried. "Ethan," she said softly, "you do not need to be alone in this. We will face it together. But your presence, it already changes the way my people see humans. You are proof that courage, loyalty, and action matter, even in the stars." Ethan smiled faintly. "I never thought of it like that. I only did what had to be done. But maybe humans can offer more than just survival. Maybe we can inspire too." Lyra nodded. "Yes. That is why you are here. And that is why they fear you. They fear what they do not understand. And humans are capable of things that even the wisest of my people cannot predict." The next days were filled with planning, training, and preparation. Ethan worked with Thalorian guards, teaching them strategies humans used in dangerous situations. He showed them how to think on their feet, improvise, and act decisively when danger appeared. Many of the younger Thalorians were amazed by his methods. Older ones were skeptical but could not deny the results. Through it all, Ethan and Lyra grew closer. They shared stories, laughed quietly, and began to understand each other in ways that transcended species. Ethan learned about Lyra's childhood, her dreams, and her hopes for a future where humans and Thalorians could work together. Lyra learned about Ethan's life on Earth, his regrets, and the quiet strength that had carried him through countless challenges. One evening, as they trained in the palace's courtyard, Ethan noticed movement in the shadows. Figures slipped between the trees, attempting to observe them without being seen. He signaled Lyra and the guards. "They are watching," he whispered. "They want to see what we do, probably to report back to the nobles who attacked us." Lyra nodded. "We must be careful, but we are ready. They will see that humans are not weak. We will show them courage and action, not just words." Ethan smiled faintly. "That is what we do best." As night fell, the palace shimmered under the light of the moons. Ethan stood beside Lyra, watching the city below. He realized that he had returned to a world of danger and wonder, just as he had left behind years ago. But this time, he was not alone. He had allies, trust, and the chance to show that humans were capable of more than anyone had imagined. And somewhere in the shadows, the nobles plotted. They underestimated him. They underestimated humans. And that, Ethan knew, would be their greatest mistake. The palace on Thaloria was quiet that morning, but the tension was thick. Ethan walked beside Lyra through the corridors, his senses alert. He had learned quickly that danger could come from anywhere, and he did not want to be caught off guard. Lyra moved gracefully beside him, her violet eyes scanning the halls as if she could see beyond walls and doors. "We need to find out who is behind the attacks," Ethan said quietly. "The nobles who tried before are just pawns. Someone else is pulling the strings." Lyra nodded. "I know. I have my suspicions, but nothing is certain. They are clever, hiding behind rules and traditions." "We must be careful." Ethan studied her face. He admired her courage and intelligence. She was young, yet she carried the responsibility of a whole world on her shoulders. "I will help," he said firmly. "We can use what humans do best. We can think differently. We can act when others hesitate." Lyra smiled faintly. "That is why I trust you. You see what others cannot. You act when others are afraid to." They moved to a private chamber filled with soft golden light. The walls were lined with monitors, showing every part of the city and the palace grounds. Ethan observed them carefully, noticing patterns, weaknesses, and areas where the intruders could strike. "These screens show their movements," Lyra explained. "We have monitored unusual activity near the palace for days, but the mastermind has not revealed themselves." Ethan leaned closer. "Watch the patterns. Look for anything that seems out of place, even small changes. Humans notice details others overlook." Hours passed as they studied the activity. Ethan pointed out shifts in the energy flow and movement patterns that suggested someone was using hidden pathways, bypassing normal security measures. Lyra's eyes widened. "You are right," she said. "No Thalorian could move like this without detection. Someone is using knowledge of our systems against us." Ethan nodded. "We need to anticipate them, set traps, monitor unusual activity, and be ready to act fast." Lyra activated more screens, showing energy readings from the city below. Ethan noticed small irregularities, energy pulses that did not match normal patterns. He traced them back to a tower on the outskirts of the city, a place normally used for research. "That tower," Ethan said, pointing. "Someone is hiding there. It must be the mastermind." Lyra studied the tower. "It is forbidden to enter without authorization. Only scholars or nobles may go there, but the energy readings, they match the devices used in the attack." "You are correct. Someone is planning something big." Ethan clenched his fists. "Then we stop them tonight," Lyra hesitated. "It is dangerous, even for you." Ethan looked at her steadily. "I have faced danger before. I will not fail. We need to act now before they strike again." As night fell, they prepared for their mission. Ethan studied maps, learning the layout of the tower and possible escape routes. Lyra explained the energy devices the mastermind might use and how they could be disabled. Together, they made a plan that combined human ingenuity with Thalorian technology. When they were ready, they moved silently through the palace corridors. The guards followed at a distance, prepared to intervene if needed, but Ethan wanted to face the threat with Lyra, showing her people that humans could act decisively when it mattered most. They reached the outer gardens and moved through hidden paths that Ethan had memorized from the palace maps. The tower loomed ahead, dark and silent, but the energy pulses from within confirmed that someone was inside. Ethan signaled to Lyra. "We split up. I will enter from the north. You take the south. We meet in the center." Lyra nodded, her eyes determined. "Be careful." Ethan moved swiftly, using shadows and cover to approach the tower. The doors were sealed with energy locks, but he studied them carefully. Humans were good at improvisation, and he quickly found a way to bypass the lock using a combination of small tools and the tower's own energy flow. Inside, the tower was dark and cold. Ethan could feel the presence of someone watching him, someone waiting. He moved quietly, listening to the hum of machines and the faint footsteps of the intruder. Suddenly, a figure appeared in the shadows. A Thalorian noble, cloaked in dark robes, stepped forward, their eyes glowing faintly. "You should not be here, human," the figure said, voice sharp. "This is beyond your understanding." Ethan stood his ground. "I understand enough. You are planning attacks on the palace and the princess. I will stop you." The noble laughed softly. "You, a human. You are brave but foolish. You do not know the power you face." Ethan clenched his fists. "I may not have your power, but I have courage, skill, and the ability to think differently. That can be enough." A battle began. Energy devices hummed and flashed, sending bursts of light across the room. Ethan used his knowledge of human tactics, moving quickly, creating diversions, and using the environment to his advantage. The noble relied on raw power, expecting fear and hesitation, but Ethan did not hesitate. Lyra appeared from the south corridor, her energy staff glowing in her hand. Together, they moved with precision. Lyra's skill and Ethan's improvisation complemented each other perfectly. They pushed the noble back, forcing them to retreat deeper into the tower. Ethan noticed control panels along the walls and realized that the noble was using the devices to manipulate the palace's defenses. If they were not stopped, the entire palace could be vulnerable. He moved quickly, disabling panels and redirecting energy flows. Lyra protected him, using her staff to deflect attacks and keep the noble off balance. Step by step, they advanced through the tower, forcing the noble toward the central chamber. Finally, they reached the heart of the tower. The noble activated a large energy device preparing to strike the palace. Ethan's eyes widened. He had seconds to act. "Lyra, we need to shut it down now," he shouted. Lyra nodded. "I am ready." Ethan analyzed the device, noticing weak points in its energy flow. Using a small tool he had carried, he disrupted the circuit at the precise moment. The device sparked and shut down, its energy collapsing inward. The noble screamed, thrown back by the force of the shutdown, and fell to the floor, defeated. Ethan and Lyra stood side by side, breathing heavily. The danger had passed, but the memory of the attack lingered. "You did it," Lyra said, her voice filled with awe. "You saved the palace, the people, me, again." Ethan shook his head. "We did it together. You were brave, precise. Humans alone could not have done this. It takes more than courage to survive here." Lyra smiled, her hand brushing his arm. "You taught me that humans are more than what we see on paper. You act when it matters. You inspire when others doubt." Ethan felt a deep warmth. He realized that he had found something he had not known he was seeking: respect, trust, and a bond that went beyond words. The next morning, Queen Ziara summoned Ethan and Lyra to the throne room. The queen's eyes were calm but sharp. "You have proven yourselves," she said. "The mastermind is revealed and the threat is ended, thanks to your courage and skill." Ethan bowed slightly. "I only did what was necessary." The queen's gaze softened. "What you did was more than necessary. You combined courage with ingenuity. That is rare among humans, and yet you have shown it can shape destinies. Lyra spoke of you often, but now I see the truth myself. Humans are capable of greatness." Ethan felt a swell of pride, not for himself alone, but for his people. Humans had a reputation for recklessness and unpredictability, but in the eyes of the queen and now her court, that unpredictability was strength when combined with courage and thought. Lyra stepped forward. "Ethan, you saved more than my life. You saved my people from a threat they did not understand. You showed them that humans are not just strong or clever, they are brave and willing to act when it matters." Ethan nodded quietly. "I only did what anyone would do if they could, but thank you." "Your trust means more than I can say," the queen smiled. "Your presence here is a turning point. Humans will be seen differently now. You have proven that courage, ingenuity, and action matter. You have given us hope." Ethan realized that this was only the beginning. The palace was safe, but Thaloria was a large world with many challenges. Yet he no longer feared the unknown. He knew that humans could face danger, adapt, and inspire. And now he had allies who believed in him, who understood what humans could bring to the stars. Lyra took his hand as they left the throne room. "The threat is gone for now," she said, "but we must be ready. The world is larger than this palace and there are always challenges ahead." Ethan smiled faintly. "I am ready. Humans face challenges every day. We act when it matters, even when others hesitate, and I will not let Thaloria fall while I can help." They walked through the palace gardens, their steps quiet but filled with purpose. Ethan felt a sense of belonging he had never known. He had returned to a world of danger, wonder, and hope. And he knew that humans, with their courage and determination, could change the fate of worlds. As the stars of Thaloria shone above, Ethan looked at Lyra and realized something important. Humans could inspire, protect, and lead, not through power alone, but through courage, action, and heart. And that was a lesson the galaxy would not forget. The palace was quiet in the early morning. Ethan woke to the soft glow of Thaloria's suns rising over the horizon. He felt a strange mix of anticipation and calm. The previous days had been filled with danger, planning, and action, and now the final steps of their mission were ahead. He knew the nobles who opposed Lyra had not given up entirely. Their ambition and fear of humans would drive them to try something again. But this time Ethan was ready. Lyra appeared at the chamber door, her violet eyes calm and focused. "Ethan, are you ready?" she asked. Ethan nodded. "As ready as I can be. They have underestimated humans too many times. It is time to show them who we are." Lyra smiled faintly. "Together we can do it." They moved through the palace corridors, this time with more confidence. The guards followed closely but gave them space, trusting Ethan and Lyra to take the lead. Every step they took felt deliberate, a statement of courage and purpose. Ethan studied the palace maps again, looking for signs of unusual movement. His eyes caught small energy fluctuations near the main council hall. "They are gathering there," he said quietly. "The nobles who attacked before, they are planning something in the heart of the palace." Lyra nodded. "Then we go to them. We cannot wait for them to strike first." As they approached the council hall, Ethan and Lyra moved carefully, avoiding patrols and energy sensors that the nobles might have set. When they reached the doors, Ethan felt the familiar thrill of tension. Danger was near, but this time he felt prepared. Humans could adapt, improvise, and act decisively. Lyra touched the door control, and it opened silently. Inside, the council hall was filled with nobles, their faces sharp and wary. At the center stood the leader of the opposition, a tall Thalorian named Valor, whose eyes glowed faintly with anger and fear. He had been the mastermind behind the previous attacks. "You again," Valor said, his voice harsh. "You dare enter my hall?" Ethan stepped forward. "I am here to stop you. You have threatened the princess, her people, and this palace. Your plans end today." Valor laughed, a sound that echoed off the high walls. "And who are you to stop me? A human? You were lucky before, but luck does not last forever." Ethan shook his head. "It is not luck. Humans act when others hesitate. We see opportunities, take risks, and solve problems when no one else can. That is why we are capable of more than you imagine." Lyra raised her staff, and the glow of her energy filled the room. "You will not harm my people," she said firmly, "and you will not harm humans again." The nobles moved forward, their devices humming with energy. But Ethan was ready. He had studied their movements, their tools, and their weaknesses. With quick thinking, he created diversions, knocking over energy panels and redirecting the device's power. The nobles were caught off guard, their attacks less precise than they expected. Ethan moved with speed and precision, using human improvisation to outmaneuver them. He leapt over energy pulses, dodged traps, and guided Lyra to safe positions. Together, they advanced, forcing the nobles back step by step. Valor activated a large energy weapon at the center of the hall, intending to strike both Ethan and Lyra. The room filled with blinding light, and the air vibrated with power. Ethan acted instinctively. He noticed a small panel on the side of the weapon and moved to disable it. His hands worked quickly, following the same logic he had used before. Lyra covered him, deflecting energy attacks with her staff. "Now, Ethan," she shouted. He struck the panel and the weapon collapsed in on itself, sending a shockwave through the hall. The nobles were thrown back, stunned and disarmed. Ethan and Lyra stood firm, breathing heavily but uninjured. Valor glared at them, fury and fear in his eyes. "This is not over," he hissed. Ethan stepped forward, his voice steady. "It is over. You cannot harm the princess or her people again. Humans act when it matters, and today we showed that courage and action are stronger than fear and ambition." Lyra nodded. "Your plans are finished. The palace is safe and the people will see the truth. Humans are brave, clever, and willing to act when others cannot." The other nobles looked around, realization dawning. They had underestimated humans. They had seen courage, quick thinking, and the ability to act under pressure. For the first time, they understood that humans were more than reckless outsiders. They were capable of changing the course of events through courage, intelligence, and determination. Queen Ziara entered the hall, her presence commanding silence. She studied Ethan carefully. "You have done what few could. You have protected my daughter, defended this palace, and shown that humans are capable of greatness. Your actions will be remembered." Ethan bowed slightly. "I only did what was necessary, Your Majesty." The Queen's eyes softened. "What you did was more than necessary. You combined courage, intelligence, and decisiveness. That is rare, even among humans, yet you have shown it can shape destinies. Lyra has spoken of you often, but now I see the truth myself." Lyra stepped beside Ethan. "Ethan, you saved more than me. You saved this palace, my people, and the trust between our worlds. Humans are not just strong or clever. They are brave, loyal, and willing to act when it matters most. You have shown all of that." Ethan felt a deep warmth in his chest. For the first time, he realized that his actions had consequences far beyond himself. He had returned to the stars to save a life, and in doing so, he had changed the course of an entire world. The Queen raised her hand, signaling the guards to secure the council hall. "Ethan Brooks, human, you are recognized as a hero of Thaloria. Your courage and wisdom will be remembered for generations. You have proven that humans are not just outsiders, you are allies, friends, and protectors." Ethan felt a mix of pride and humility. He had never sought recognition or praise, Yet he realized that sometimes actions mattered far more than words. Courage, ingenuity, and determination could inspire entire civilizations. Lyra placed her hand on his arm. "This is only the beginning," she said softly. "Humans and Thalorians can achieve great things together. You have shown that trust, bravery, and action can change the world. We have learned much from you." Ethan nodded. "And I have learned much from you. Your people are wise, patient, and strong. Together, humans and Thalorians can face anything." The days that followed were filled with preparation, rebuilding, and celebration. The palace repaired damages, and the nobles who opposed Lyra were either removed from power or brought under supervision. The people of Thaloria began to see humans differently, inspired by Ethan's courage and willingness to act when others hesitated. Ethan spent time with Lyra, exploring the city, learning more about Thalorian culture, and teaching small lessons about human ingenuity and creativity. They walked through glowing forests, floated above rivers of light, and shared quiet moments looking at the stars. In these moments, Ethan understood that humans were capable of more than survival. They could inspire, protect, and lead. The Queen summoned him again. "Ethan Brooks," she said, "you have changed the way Thaloria sees humans. Your courage, skill, and heart are proof that your people can be trusted, respected, and admired. You have earned a place in our history." Ethan bowed. "I only did what I could, but thank you, Your Majesty. I am honored." Lyra smiled, her eyes shining. "You saved more than my life. You saved hope, trust, and the bond between our peoples. That is something no one can take away." Ethan looked at the glowing city, the rivers of energy, and the Thalorians moving gracefully through their world. He felt a deep sense of belonging. He had returned to the stars to save a life, and in doing so, he had helped shape the future. Humans were capable of courage, ingenuity, and greatness, and now the galaxy had seen it firsthand. That night, Ethan and Lyra stood on a balcony, looking at the 3 moons of Thaloria shining above. The city below shimmered like a river of light, peaceful and alive. Ethan felt a quiet satisfaction. He had faced danger, uncertainty, and fear, and he had acted. He had shown what humans were capable of. Lyra took his hand. "The universe is full of challenges," she said softly. "But with humans like you there is hope. Courage, loyalty, and action can change worlds." Ethan smiled. "Humans act when it matters, even when others hesitate. That is what makes us strong." Lyra nodded. "And that is why you will always be remembered here. You have proven that humans are not just survivors. You are heroes, allies, and friends." Ethan looked at her, then at the glowing horizon. He knew that his life had changed forever. He had returned to a world he thought he had left behind, faced danger and uncertainty, and shown that humans were capable of greatness. And he understood something more. Courage, action, and heart could inspire entire civilizations. As the suns of Thaloria rose, Ethan felt hope and pride. Humans had a place in the stars, not as conquerors but as allies, protectors, and heroes. He had proven it, and the galaxy had begun to see it too. He squeezed Lyra's hand and looked at the future. Together, they would face challenges, explore new worlds, and show that courage and action mattered more than fear and doubt. And somewhere deep in his heart, Ethan knew this was only the beginning of humanity's story among the stars.